Well, we broke down and got a Civic in this shop. You know what? We're going green. Brian, here it is. We're talking hybrid today.
These things are interesting. You know, there's over 20 million of these cars on the road in America today, and many of them are over 10 years old, which is kind of the optimal performance window for hybrid battery packs. So a lot to learn here. I'm excited to dig in and see what's wrong.
Let me tell you what's going on. First of all, charged up the battery, drove it maybe a day, sometimes a half a day. No battery out here. I'm talking about the 12-volt battery, okay? Charge it up. I know it's a good battery. Once again, it's dead. So, man, I just put a brand new battery in it. We need to do some testing.
Still a problem. That's interesting, because typically we'd go to the alternator as our next step and get the truth serum, find out what's going on, and figure out what do we do next. We don't have an alternator.
No, and it's probably the same concept. Let's go down here. I'm going to go down here, and if you would crank it up for me in a second, let's see what we got and see if it even raises voltage, because even with the battery pack, we should be showing something. So let's see what we got here. Brian, I got about 12.91. Go ahead and crank it up.
Okay, should charge up a little bit.
Yeah, you could shut it off. We're actually going the wrong way.
Really?
We actually went down to 12.5, 12.3. I mean, it's actually dying as we're getting into it.
So we have no way, we're not replenishing that voltage that we're using, so that sends me to the back of the vehicle with the appropriate equipment. I'll get access to that hybrid battery. We'll see what we can find out back there.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff back there. Well, while he's doing that, let's go ahead and take a look at what a hybrid is and what's actually going on here. So if I switch the screen right here, you can actually see here, I got a couple of different types of hybrid. Well, what's a hybrid? It's a gasoline motor coupled with an actual electric motor. So the gasoline, or the ICE engine, internal combustion engine, this is a series. Now this is like your Prius. And what's happening here is the gasoline engine is running this generator right here. That's all it's doing. Then the generator's charging up the batteries, and then what happened? The electric motor's driving the car. So your Prius, the motor's there really only to charge the batteries. Now our Civic, on the other hand, a little bit different. It's a parallel hybrid. Now what's going on with that one is the motor is running here, and when the motor runs, the ICE, the internal combustion engine, it actually goes down and it feeds power to the axles. Now on ours, we're just using this motor over here, this motor generator, as kind of a helper. Think of it as a helper. Now this one's about 10 kilowatts and 13 horsepower. It's a little helper, but a helper nevertheless. So I'm shooting the power down and they're both bleeding into it. Now you see some with some high performance cars, they're putting some big electric motors in there. They're getting some horsepower gains along with the engine. So hybrid's out there and it's out there to stay. Now a series parallel hybrid, you actually have a power splitter that's going from the engine and the electric motor, and we're running them both and charging the battery. So they're getting a little more complex as we go along. But really the cool complexity is right behind that back seat. Let's take a look at it.
How many times on Tech Garage have you heard me say that access is sometimes the hardest part of the job? Well, here you go. You got 4 pounds of potatoes in a 3-pound bag back here, but I'm making it work. I've got the lower part of the seat out, the upper seat back out. That was only 4 10mm bolts. Then we had access to this master breaker. We threw that down to kill the power. It's the same as the power coming in from the street into the panel in your home. You're killing master power. Every hybrid vehicle is different, but we follow the manufacturer's recommended time interval before we do anything else after killing this power. But I took the safety shield off with just some torque screws. Here's the integrated motor assist system. Here's the hybrid battery pack. This is the guy we're ultimately going to replace. But I want one more step of validation that all is safe and well back here. You set our meter in volts mode, rubber gloves up good up to 1,000 volts. Gotta have these on. And of course we just want to check and see if we've got any voltage. There we go, none. I'm confident enough now that I can lose the gloves and actually finish the job. The next step is to disconnect the terminals right here where the battery pack goes over to the IMA. Very simple, 10mm bolt. Okay. And then the lower one, bring them down. That's now free. I'm going to switch to a 12mm socket, which are the 4 mounting bolts for the hybrid battery pack. Very simple. Those are big brackets. They hold a lot of weight. You're going to see why in just a second. Keep in mind, this is a 13-year-old hybrid. Prime candidate for a new battery, which is why we're going to switch it out. Plus, remember, it's not charging. All right, there's the 4th mounting bolt. Battery pack is loose. One final step, the wiring harness into the processor, the brains back here, it comes out.
Yeah,
Thank you, John. Hey, just remember, anytime you're dealing with orange wires in a hybrid, it's all high voltage. So that's why everything's orange for you. This thing's a beast, buddy.
Yep, you know what? I brought the big guns, no worries. As electrifying as this is, though, we got to take a short break. But don't go far, because we'll be back with more Tech Garage brought to you by rockauto.com. Now, with a little muscle and a few curls, man, we got these things over at the table. I'll tell you, they're heavy. But rockauto.com has the exact replacement, man. This is pretty good. If you look at the plugs here, Brian was mentioning the orange plug right here. That plugs in, and the white one right there. Our new pack, same thing. You got the orange plug, you got the white one. The breaker's right there. So I did a little visual inspection. Even the bracketry's on it. So the bracketry all matches up. You got the handles. This is going to go in there real well. Now, the cool part about these packs, they're all individual cells in here. These little cells in here, some of them have 22, some have more, but they're all wired up in there to make the high voltage to get the job done. Now let's take a look at this hybrid and how it actually works inside. Now, we said earlier there's a hybrid and there's a gas motor. Well, if you look at this top graphic here, we're still going to need a fuel tank here to feed our engine, and then the high battery voltage is here. But we're actually running a motor generator, and the key word is a motor generator. So you come down to this bottom graphic right here. Well, what's it look like? Well, it looks like a starter motor and an alternator, hence the word a motor generator. It's pretty cool because you have a stator and you actually have the armature. So it can work as a motor to help push the car, and it can also work as a generator to actually charge the batteries. And that's what's sandwiched between, right here in our Honda, between the actual transaxle and the gasoline engine. You can see this top graphic right here. There it's located right there. Now, I said earlier, it's only about a 13 horsepower little pusher, but it's helping push that motor. That's hence the good gas mileage, the low emissions, and our hybrid system. Now, they also have what's called regenerative braking, and that's pretty cool here because when you hit the brakes, you can actually grab some of that energy, and you can see it right here. It has a motor generator 1, motor generator 2, and a rear motor generator. So when you hit the brakes, the energy's going up there. We're converting it through the inverter assembly, and we're recharging the battery packs. Speaking of these battery packs, I got to get them over to Brian. Let me get them set up.
At the beginning of the project, we showed you that 12-volt battery up front, remember the new one, wasn't getting enough replenishment voltage, but there's no alternator. So what that means is this new battery pack we're about to install has to convert down to 14 plus volts to keep that one replenished. That happens through a converter. Additionally, in this system, there's an inverter. It's got to take three-phase electricity from that massive battery pack, step it down to alternating current, which gets the integrated motor assist system, gives that the power to work. That's how that all works. We didn't have a check engine light, so we have no reason to believe that we've got an issue with the inverter or the converter. That's why we're not worrying about replacing them now. The car's 13-year-old, a prime candidate to replace the battery pack anyway, so off we go. So John,
Yep.
This is going to take two of us, buddy.
Sure is. Now, I'll tell you what, Brian, I'm kind of rotate it down so you put the down part. I'll grab the top handle. It's pretty heavy. I curled it a few times. It's not that bad.
Yeah, no, you're a beast.
I'm going to send it down. You grab the bottom one. I'll grab the top.
In your own mind.
There you go.
Yep. Okay, we kind of come up, and we've got the breaker off on this new battery pack, of course. We got to go your way. Go that way a little bit.
There we go.
All right, checked all the
There
connectors.
Yep.
Let's try to get, I'm going to come up.
There it is. Okay, great.
All right, really important to not damage anything.
Easy. Pull it up a little bit.
Go up a little bit.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful.
Right in line.
Hey, I'm lined up perfect. You couldn't have done that any better.
That'll hold it in place. Now, the connectors obviously only go one way. We're going to go ahead with the breaker off. We're going to go ahead and reseat these connectors. Hear the click. That was for the inverter. This is for the converter. Step it down. That's good. Breaker's still off. I'll get these tightened up, and hey, buddy, we're about ready for a test drive.
We'll get a test ride at the end, make sure that everything's okay. We're going to go to the Garage Ed segment next. You don't want to miss it. Stick around. There's plenty more. Tech Garage brought to you by rockauto.com.